gentlemen, good evening and welcome to Canal Algérie's News in English. In today's top stories, the President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune, Supreme Chief of the Armed Forces, Minister of National Defense, chairs a meeting of the Higher Council of Security. The government governors' meeting is set to take place today under the high patronage of the President of the Republic and will be devoted to the evaluation of the accomplished work in local development. Quality results achieved by the National People's Army in the last period, reflecting the high professionalism, vigilance, and availability of our armed forces. Details coming up. Updates concerning the investigations in Morocco Gate scandal. The European Parliament gives green light to prosecutor's office to request waiver of immunity of remaining corrupt MEPs. Good evening, those with today's headlines. We start our news bulletin with the President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune, Supreme Chief of the Armed Forces, Minister of National Defense, who chaired a meeting of the Higher Council of Security dedicated to reviewing the general situation in the country. In other news, the government's governors' meeting will take place today at the Palace of the Nations in Algiers under the high patronage of the President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune, under the theme Local Development, Evaluation and Prospects. This meeting comes with an aim of evaluating the actions accomplished these last 3 years. Concerning local development, a program was established by the Ministry of Interior, Local Collectivities and Territorial Planning. Sabrin Tafarganit with the details.
4 months since the last one, a meeting of government and province governors will be held this Thursday, where there will be an assessment of the accomplished work based on the adaptation of the new approach of local development and the implementation of the running order of last September, coming under the periodic supervision conducted in accordance with the commitments of the President of the Republic. This monitoring and evaluation of the development projects plays a crucial role in improving citizens' living conditions and ensuring socioeconomic growth across all the national territory, which is considered as one of the top priorities of the President of the Republic.
We've
been through some difficult time during the pandemic, but we were well taken care of concerning healthcare. Today things are getting better, especially in terms of health security. There have been different development projects which helped creating employment positions in the south of the country, notably in the provinces. We thank public authorities for the help concerning rural housing and the sport facilities. Crucial decisions were taken amid the last 4 meetings of the government and province governors, all of them aiming to improve citizens' living conditions, coming under the government strategy that plans as well to enhance investment attractiveness through the exploitation of the different resources of the region. New instructions for 2023, especially after initiating the municipal and provincial code review alongside the establishment of a commission in charge of this revision that aims to reinforce decentralization and create financial resources for local communities. We are supporting the President of the Republic in the projects he undertakes. Amid the last government province governors meeting, instructions were given for the implementation of development projects that would improve living conditions for the inhabitants of rural areas. And we are witnessing a real determination for improving this area. The road was completely unfinished. We had to park our cars and walk for long distances. Today, everything is in order. Our village had been connected to gas and drinking water network. The government province governors meetings aim to adopt specific recommendations and ensure regular follow-up of the province's projects, which will certainly boost local development and guarantee social equity.
In the dynamics of sustained efforts in the fight against terrorism and organized crime during the period from 11th to 17th of January 2023, units and detachments of the National People's Army carried out several operations that resulted in quality results that reflect the high professionalism, vigilance, and permanent availability of our armed forces across the national territory. As part of the fight against terrorism, combined detachments of the National People's Army have arrested 9 support elements to terrorist groups in distinct operations across the national territory. In the framework of the fight against organized crime and in continuity with sustained efforts to counter the scourge of drug trafficking in our country, combined detachments of the National People's Army have arrested in coordination with different security services during operations carried out throughout the military regions 63 drug traffickers and thwarted attempts to introduce large quantities of drugs from the borders with Morocco amounting to 7 quintals and 52.5 kilograms of processed keef, while 1.35 kilograms of cocaine and 72,994 psychotropic tablets were seized. In Tamnarast, Borjbeji Mukhtar, Ingizam, and Tindouf detachments of the National People's Army have intercepted 180 individual and seized 2 Kalashnikov submachine guns, 48 vehicles, 54 generators, 71 jackhammers, 7 metal detectors, 17.2 tons of mixture of stones and raw gold, as well as mixture of stones and raw gold, as well as quantities of explosives, detonation tools and equipment used in illegal gold panning operations, while 13 other individuals were arrested and 12 shotguns, 3 automatic pistols, quantities of foodstuffs intended for smuggling, speculation amounting to 159.7 tons and 1,475 units of various beverages were seized during distinct operations throughout the national territory. Similarly, the border guards thwarted in coordination with the services of the National Gendarmerie attempts to smuggle large quantities of fuel amounting to 38,860 liters in Borjbeji Mukhtar, Tamrat, Suqahras, Al Tarif, and Bissa. Additionally, the Coast Guard thwarted on our national coasts attempts at illegal immigration and rescued 79 individuals aboard homemade boats, while 242 illegal immigrants of different nationalities were arrested throughout the national territory. Morocco gate developments. Now, the European Parliament gave the go-ahead to the prosecution to request a waiver of immunity of remaining corrupt deputies involved in the scandal. Details with Manal Ammari.
Several journalists gathered before the European Parliament's plenary chamber on Tuesday without any answer or explanation about what was happening in the Parliament. We solicited in the late afternoon the reaction of several Belgian MEPs, to no avail. Inside the hall, the embarrassment is evident since the opening of this session because of the announcement made by the President of the European Parliament, Roberta Metsola, the night before, in the wake of a sprawling investigation initiated in Belgium on suspicion corruptions sponsored by Morocco.
We will do more to ensure that the public has clear information on our financial declarations, and we will ensure more training on whistleblowing and compliance. We will boost measures that will propose to boost the fight against corruption and on how we can push back against foreign interference.
A shocking revelation with resounding effects within the Parliament's plenary chamber, where MEPs focused on Morocco's alleged role in the unprecedented corruption scandal that shook the European institutions. The scandal that concerns us here is the criminal offense of corruption. In media, as we hear very disturbing allegations involving foreign agents and foreign states. On December 9th, 2022, all of Europe woke up to a scandal whose full magnitude has not been discovered yet. An investigation carried out 4 months earlier by a Belgian financial judge led to the arrest of several people, including an MEP. An affair organized by Morocco. The further the investigation advances, the more unsuspected people are found guilty due to their involvement in this scandal, namely former MEP Pier Antonio Panzeri, the brains behind this operation, and his former parliamentary assistant, Francesco Giorgi, as well as the Vice President of the European Parliament, the Greek Eva Kaili, all of whom are currently incarcerated and accused of corruption and money laundering. The non-governmental organization Fight Impunity, led by Panzeri, and No Peace Without Justice by Figa Talamanca, laundered the money which also benefited the Italian trade unionist Luca Vicenti with over 1.5 million euros in cash, which were seized by Belgian investigators. A suitcase full of cash is all it took to look after Morocco's interests, the main instigator of this scandalous case. Nevertheless, MEPs repeated the name of the country during the committee session devoted to this affair. We discovered a sprawling system which was set up initially by Morocco, and I repeat the word Morocco because I am surprised that none of the previous speakers, neither on the committee's side or on the MEP's side, mentioned Morocco, which implemented this corruption system since 2019 or even before. Morocco is directly linked to the European Parliament's corruption scandal, which we were not told about. There is a real interference. They tried to buy the Parliament's legislative work, and the best way to solve the issue of internal control is to hold our so-called strategic allies accountable. These are powerful lobbies. We cannot keep having friendship groups with lobbyers. This must stop immediately.
Yeah, we learned that a delegation of Moroccans, members of parliament, now in the European Parliament, and of course contacting a lot of members of the European Parliament, because there is also a resolution discussed on breaches of human rights in Morocco. And I think due to the investigations, we should not allow that they are in the house, because Morocco is under the accusation of strong bribery, of buying opinions and people, and therefore we should make a clear cut and not allow them in the house. And I said yesterday also,
MEPs have to vote to waiver the immunity of two of their colleagues, the Belgian Marc Tarabella and the Italian Andrea Cozzolino, at the head of the Maghreb delegation in the European Parliament and the Inquiry Committee into the use of the espionage and surveillance software Pegasus. We see that Morocco has a highly apparent influence on the Pegasus. We have the Inquiry Committee in the European Parliament, and there are some groups that want to terminate it. We need to advance to avoid any corruption linked to spying. The Vice President of the Commission and members of the European Free Alliance, to which I belong, have preoccupations. With more revelations surfacing each day, the corruption file in the European Parliament has a Moroccan connection between Panzeri and the kingdom's secret services. The European Parliament adopted a resolution against Morocco, just as it did against the Zionist entity and other regimes that have positions against human rights. In my opinion, pressure on these regimes always gives results. There will be a collaboration with the Belgian justice by indicating all the information on the operation, particularly the names of the people involved in this corruption network. Other consequences of Maroc Gate include the fall of the wall of silence maintained for 25 years on the human rights situation in Morocco, which extended to the occupied territories. The results of the first vote taken in a quarter century will be announced this evening.
Human rights violations are nothing new in Morocco, and the Makhzen regime is merciless to migrants. Many of them gathered on Wednesday morning in Casablanca to denounce abuses, violations, and even assassinations, as it was the case last June, where dozens of sub-Saharan migrants were murdered in Melilla by security forces. Details with Ines Killo.
The Makhzen regime continues to practice its policy of repression and violation of human rights and fundamental freedoms, and not only against the Moroccan people, as migrants from sub-Saharan Africa are also victims of all forms of violence, subjecting to beatings, violations, and arbitrary detention, depriving them of their most basic rights to be deposed later. In these images transmitted by social networks, it is clear that violent clashes between law enforcement authorities and migrants occurred during the evacuation of camps in Casablanca. Many of them were beaten and others violently arrested.
Nous-mêmes, on est ici même là. C'est pas notre pays. Comment nous, on peut aller provoquer quelqu'un?
They beat and humiliate us. We are here as immigrants. We're not in our country. How can we provoke someone in his country? Do you see us sleeping outside like this? We can't work anymore because they are not renewing our residence permits. We are treated badly and we have no rights.
De dormir là où les trouver. Parce que nous, on a mis dans la tête comme ça.
The Moroccan Human Rights Association is sounding the alarm, accusing the authorities of provoking these riots by using unjustified violation against these migrants who are living in very difficult conditions with the almost total halt in the renewal of residence permits. This is another tragedy in addition to the one of Ceuta and Melilla, where 23 migrants were brutally killed by Moroccan police while trying to cross the Spanish enclave. Tragic scenes that no less than 45 international human rights organizations had denounced and condemned.
The proceedings of the Polisario Front Congress were extended for 2 more days. It was scheduled to be completed Tuesday in Dakhla. However, the participation was massive. Young people shouted the 16th edition slogan, intensifying fight to expel the occupier and complete sovereignty.
The 60th edition of the Polisario Front Congress was marked by the participation of many young people coming from all over Western Sahara, a presence that testifies the will and determination of this youth to fight for freedom. There are many young people who came to participate in this Congress, calling for the continuity of the armed fight to liberate the country from the colonizer. The young Sahrawis who intervened through the Congress are hope carriers. They reaffirm their will to continue the fight and to preserve national unity. I came to participate in this Congress, which aims to intensify the armed fight against the Moroccan occupier and to recover sovereignty of the Sahrawi Republic. We are here to show that young Sahrawis are not afraid of death, young people who have courage, a lot of determination, and who believe in their legitimate case. Young people committed and determined for the freedom and the recovery of the full sovereignty of their country. And
we wrap up with the results of the CHAN competition, where Côte d'Ivoire tied with the Democratic Republic of Congo in the first game of the day. And in the second game of the day, Uganda won over Senegal 1-2-0. And with that, our news edition comes to a close. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great night.